Cold in here, please.
And hello. How are you doing?
Oh, that's why, yeah. Headset in. All right, there we go. Now,
It's a new setting.
can I hear you?
Can you hear me?
I
Am I
can.
there? You can't hear me. How about now? Anything? No.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
How does that work?
That's a good question. I can hear myself.
There you go. I
Oh,
can hear-
okay.
That's helpful.
All right.
There we go. That all started out.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm just saying you got a new setting, new background.
This is my. I have this attention span issue. I often, I don't know why this is happening. Anyways, I have a laptop for a reason because I can't stand being in the same place all the time. It makes me feel like I'm being bolted to a wall. So every now and then I'm in the bedroom, and sometimes I'm in the den, sometimes I'm in the living room, and now I'm in the hall.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, I've got my laptop that I use for just about everything, but because I have that same feeling. But 98% of the time it sits right here.
Yeah.
But I have the freedom. I can just yank all the cords and walk if necessary. So I feel comfortable, so I can stay.
Something else. Yes, as long as you feel free, you don't need to actually move.
Exactly.
How are you?
Good, good. Life is good. It's a little cold here where I am, but that's very relative, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's actually cold here today. I'm actually cold, which is quite unusual. I'm wearing a jacket.
Nice.
Hey, Mark.
Oh, Mark's here. He's burning some money so we can stay warm. I love it.
Good morning. Hold on,
I
let me
actually
change
have
my
the fire on. I'm so cold. It's very unusual.
background. There we go.
Love it.
There we go. How you guys doing?
Good,
Good.
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 Yeah.
Not flooding out. That's always nice.
Right?
Oh, yeah, you guys, how close are you guys to the craziness? What's going on up there?
There's a building about 2 blocks away from us that was built over an underground stream, which they should not have been giving planning permission from. And they actually have their underground parking is full.
Oh, wow.
But it happened last year as well, so it's not like that's not special.
Oh, well, okay.
We had a bit of water come up in our parking lot. It was about 4 inches at the worst. So
Yeah, you're pretty close to the river there, right?
very close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the little green belt and the Tremblay Trail between us and the water, and that's it.
Yeah, just down the road, Tank, is a town, and then the road kind of goes up into the mountains, into the interior of BC. And right there is where the cutoff point was. People were stuck in this one town. They couldn't get left. They couldn't get right. They couldn't come back. They were stuck for days on end. Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
I actually know somebody who's still stuck on the Coquihalla.
Oh, God.
Really?
In her car. Well, because the road washed away. There's about 30 feet of it missing.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah. Well,
So, Tank, so my half my family's American.
Okay.
So we go down, and I'm talking to my brother-in-law, and he's like, "So what highway do you take to get from there?" I'm like, "Well, it's not hard. It's like the 401 in Ontario, right?" And he's like, "But you know that highway offhand?" I'm like, "There's only one highway."
Yeah, I know the highway. It's
So
the
we open up the map, and he's like, "Oh my God." Like you compare it to the American maps, like this
Oh, it's
crisscross
crazy.
here, right?
Yeah.
And then our map's like one major highway. Now, don't get me wrong, we've got other smaller roads, but one
Sure.
big highway.
like if you want to go to Alaska, that's
Exactly.
just if you can't take that road, you can't go.
So
Got it.
this one road being washed out is really
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it's going to affect some logistics. It's going to affect things.
Yeah, there's gonna have to lot up more stuff is gonna have to go down through the States
Yeah.
and come back up. Because those highways weren't affected, but the highways from here north and from here east were.
So
Wow.
we're buying it from the Americans, and then we're importing it, and then we're shipping it through America.
It's this nice little dip around. Yeah, I can understand that.
We'll probably get charged some sort of tariff on the way down and back.
Everything is gonna be more expensive in a minute anyway, so, whatever.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
we're having a pretty serious issue with that here with the inflation, and our government is, how do you say, not so forthcoming with truth. That's the nice way to put it. And I've been watching some stuff and studying some stuff. I've been looking at the crypto markets and just that idea of inflation and with that big boat getting stuck in the canal and all the supply chain. Like, and I think it all sums up. Read this joke the other day that sums it all up. It's instead of, oh my God, I'm sorry I'm late, there was traffic. It's, oh my God, I'm sorry I'm late, supply chain.
Supply
Yeah.
chain.
Yeah,
Right.
That's just the answer for everything now. So,
yeah. Well, the container ships that are off the harbor here that aren't going anywhere. I actually drove down to downtown a couple of days ago and went past the container yard, like one of the port yards, and it's 50 containers deep.
Mhm.
I've never seen that much stuff in that port. It's full because they can't get it out. There's not enough truckers.
That's it. That's it. Backlog.
We've got it all, but we can't move it.
yeah, we took a small vacation out to the California coast in Long Beach, which is one of the big ports. And we just wanted to go see the water. And me and my
You
family, we
can't see
sat
the water
there
'cause it's all
and we're
covered
looking,
in
we're like,
container ships.
are there this many boats? And we start doing some, we knew there was a problem, but like it was insane just from the sitting in a parking lot looking at it, like, that's a lot of ships.
Yep.
It was, and I'm sure there's more we can't see because of the smog and other problems, but
Yeah.
it was pretty insane. Well,
and the ones that
really
aren't
think about
even
how
leaving
global
China.
this is.
Like they're just not they're not leaving China. They're not leaving the Philippines. They're just not leaving now because they've got nowhere to go. There's no point in leaving. They're like,
Right. And they're getting fined if they sit. There's all these things about getting fined if you sit too long. So they're not just saying, get them out the door. They're like, okay, now we actually got to start thinking about, oh, it's almost like parenting. You got to think about what comes next.
Oh no. Oh no.
How could you bring that up at this time?
I don't know. I just thought it might be appropriate. Shame on me.
Well,
Right.
yeah.
So anything this week that comes to mind, Tank?
Yeah, actually, I've been thinking about you a lot, Mark, because I know like last we spoke, it was all fresh. So how are you doing? I mean, that seems that you've been on my mind a lot. I've been wondering how you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Tank. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. 2 weeks ago it was fresh for me too. Right? Yeah, it was. Yeah, you probably could tell, right? Yeah, it's. Yeah, we've kind of gotten used to the idea, and we're sharing it with family now, and we do find that a bit awkward. How to
really?
share,
Hmm.
like your child is.
Himself.
Right. Right. So even the word you're like but you're like I don't want to say something wrong or something stupid or so it's like just telling my dad on the phone he's not going to stop behaving like this anytime soon, Dad.
Yeah.
He's we've had him tested, type thing. I don't know what to say almost, so the guard does tend to come back up.
Yeah.
When other people are involved, my wife and I, we just say that's Jimmy. Okay, so how do we make sure that he's okay with this scenario?
Yeah.
But with other people, we're finding ourselves scratching our head and kind of going, well, how do I explain this? And it's not like he's crazy weird or crazy different. He's just this much different, right? So I don't want to like blow it up into anything that it isn't.
Well, and you don't want to have that like the little thought balloon that sticks on the side of his head that's between him and everybody else that says, oh, he's that.
He's different.
I
Yeah.
know everything about those people because that label is stuck on that kid.
Yeah.
I don't have to get to know him. I can just say, oh yeah, it's just because he's that.
Because is he a little difficult at times? But what child isn't, right?
I've noticed people are a bit difficult at times.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he's so lovable and so randomly affectionate that it comes from the heart. You know what I mean? Like he's not doing it to please you.
Yeah.
When he hugs you, it's a gift. It's like take it and run. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that's awesome.
What's going well? Thank you.
Good. Yeah. it's kind of made me think a little bit about my granddaughter. She's like, I think pushing 3 now. I'm a horrible COVID babies. It's tough, right? I don't know,
Yeah,
but
they were, a minute ago, they were 6-month-olds, then they're 9. I don't know what happened.
things happen, right? She was born with like one of her ears was kind of folded in, so it's not really a fully formed ear. And like my daughter was in the beginning, it was this big freak out. Like, what does it mean? What? And I'm like, it means her ear was like I was this voice of reason for her, and she was like, well, what? Like testing this, that, and like just this whole massive fear of parenting comes in, which it does, and like now it's we don't even see it. We
Yeah.
don't even the reason I bring it up is that discussion of, well, does she have a bad ear? Can she like the way to phrase it, the way to label it is it's Bella. Like it's just Bella. That's who she is. And like to your point of it's Jimmy. Like
Jimmy? Yeah.
that is, right? We don't need to add anything to it. She doesn't have maybe she doesn't hear as well, but shit, neither do I. Like my hearing's trashed. So okay, like I've got a reason. She's just cuter than me. That just happens. So
Right.
There it is. I love it. Yeah, I love that. It's one of the things that I learned when I was in, I think it was middle school. Somebody said near my head, it's interesting how people that you don't know can sometimes seem beautiful and people can sometimes seem ugly. But the better you get to know them, the uglier or more beautiful they become.
interesting.
You just sort of get used to the way people look and you stop seeing their oddities or their how they're unique. And although they may look beautiful when you first see them, if you get to know them and they're not, they're harsh people or they're not very happy or whatever, they stop looking so beautiful to you. And if you look at people and you think, well, that's kind of weird. And the more you get to know them, they look more beautiful because it's just them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you see past the regular visual.
Yeah. It's not a one-dimensional way of thinking about people anymore. It becomes enriched by your experience with them.
Yeah, of course, right? Like when you think about it, of course. But yeah, and this is it with Jimmy. Like his so far, just explaining it to other family, like my sisters are great with it, type thing. Yeah, I don't need to tell them much. They're like, okay, great. So do we need to do anything? Nope. Just treat them like normal, right? Dad, maybe just stop asking when he's going to change.
Yeah.
Right. Like, when's he going to start talking to me on the phone? I'm like, maybe never.
Yeah, that might be a nod. Yeah.
I can't physically hold him in front of the phone. It's illegal to do that.
Yeah. Well, and you'd be recorded or something. It would just be bad. You don't
right.
need that kind of, you don't need the kind of material out there. You'd end up on YouTube or something, super viral. Somebody else.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look at father holding kid's head.
This just out, right? Yeah. Headline news.
Breaking news. Yeah.
Yeah. Watch the kid in terror as he can't move his head. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good point you bring up of, it's don't do anything different for him. Help me, talk to me. You figure out me, right? Because the journey right now is yours. It's not, I mean, his journey is his journey, but you're the one having to deal with more of this because he doesn't know what your life is like. He doesn't know what your sisters think. Like he doesn't care about any of that.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
Well,
And
he doesn't
mommy
know anything other than his own experience. Whereas you have expectations and possibly disappointments or frustrations.
Yeah.
And you're having to realign how you see what your expectations had been.
And isn't that true of all parenting? Right? Like it's really one of the founding problems in parenting. Like because you take what you had from your upbringing and you look around you and you through the years have said, this is normal. This is what I want to be like or want my kids to be like. And then it happens and they don't hit that gate or they don't perform to your expectation. And yeah, there is a sense of letdown and there is a sense of, did I do something wrong or is my kid doing something wrong, type thing. But yeah, over the years, I would say now that I'm a young 50,
Good looking, nice.
I've finally come to terms with a few of these things, right? Like, you can't be embarrassed about who you are. Naturally.
Well, you can be, but it won't get you anywhere you want to
Yeah.
go.
Well, you shouldn't be, right? You shouldn't be embarrassed about you. You just be who you are, the best that you can be, and the rest falls into place. type of
I
thing, right?
love Douglas Adams for a lot of reasons, but he was on one of the late night shows. Now I can't remember which one. And he was asked, like, you know, why comedy? Why did you go into comedy writing? And he's like, well, I'm 6'5". Oh, it was David Letterman. And David Letterman's like,
Yeah.
So what?
and he's like, well, I'm
Yeah.
6'5" and I'm English. And he's like,
Help, I need more.
yeah, context. He's like, well, John Cleese is 6'5".
Oh, okay.
Like, oh, I thought I had to be a comedian. I actually wanted to be John Cleese until I recognized when I was about 26 that the job was taken.
Right.
That's awesome. I love that.
I think that's a thing that a lot of people, like, I think that really hit home because a lot of people feel that way. Like, that's who I want to be. It's like, sorry, that job's full. You're gonna have to do the one that's empty. That's
Right. And
you.
and yet we know some people in our lives that I thought they were different, but they were like self aware, and they were spending time on their own, and they were thinking, and they made decisions. And after summer break, during school, they would have a plan, and it's like, wow, like I always thought those people were like super special in a way, right? Type thing, right? It's like, no, they're just like more
No.
mature, maybe, right?
Or they had just had better support. They just had
Better-
people
yeah.
who said, you know, hey, it looks like, you know, we're looking at your grades. You got an F in English, you got an A in math. It looks like you should really focus on the math. Rather than going, hey, you need to do something about that English mark. Like, it's
Right.
just it's a different kind of support to say, you look like you're really interested in this. This looks like it really jazzes you.
Yeah.
How can we put more of that into your life? You know, where do you want to take that? What do you think you can do with this information later? You know, that's a really different thing than being, you know, yelled at to do your homework and told to pull your grades up.
Well, it's a good point, because I told a buddy of mine what was happening with my little guy, and he put it in big perspective. He was like, he listened. He was like, oh, that's tough. Good. Thanks for sharing, type of thing. This is after we had a beer.
Not quite at the I love you man stage, but
Not
go
quite.
on.
We weren't hugging it out yet. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. That's what I was trying to tell you. Yeah, yeah. You know how it goes. And then he told me about his family, about how a generation or two ago, I think it was his uncle, so maybe the same generation. They had a Down syndrome child,
Mm.
and after a while, I mean, yeah, it was hard to adjust to at the beginning, but after a while, like, this person brought so much love and joy to that family.
Yeah.
And that person had so much individuality that it was like, yeah, you weren't going to change them. Right. They were going to live their own life the way they could. And everybody was just so grateful to have them in it. Right. And so that kind of put things in a little bit perspective too. Like all your children, however many you have, however many need help, however many, it just to appreciate the differences. Right. So I'm learning. Apparently I'm still learning at this ripe old age.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Is that a thing? Do people do that?
It's crazy. It's
I love
crazy.
it. I think the interesting thing that I'm hearing and feeling right now is everybody is unique, and it's when they reach that point of self-awareness, like you mentioned, and they choose to be their authentic self. The gift in one of the gifts in this for you, I'm sure you'll see thousands, but one of the gifts for you, Mark, is you now know a lot more who your child is.
Yeah.
I had to wait until mine was failing high school to figure that shit out. But okay, now I get it, right? But I mean, him and I are having much more authentic conversations now.
Right.
And granted, at the age he thinks he knows everything, and he knows some stuff, but he doesn't know everything he thinks he knows. But that's okay. We're figuring that out.
Yeah.
And the sooner you figure out, we talk about this all the time in every kind of like self-help genre, like be your authentic self. Some people wait 40, 50 years to figure that out. Like, I'm grateful I'm my son there at 17 and my daughter at 19 and 22, whatever. Like, I think they're there. I wish I could have had this earlier, because the formative years probably would have gone different. I'm not wishing it was different, but there's so much benefit in this. I can see more authenticity. Same thing with the Downs kids, or the Ups kids, as we call them, is like, yeah, you're going to teach me how to be a better human, because there's stuff I haven't had to face yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love that. I just love it.
Well, and for, so I'm going to say neurotypical, but I mean the average person. For the average person going through an ordinary mainstream childhood, it isn't particularly safe feeling to be yourself. And when
Yeah.
you get into the neurotypical side of it, they don't get that. They don't, they're just not in that zone of I need to comply or conform to be safe, because they don't have the capacity to do that. So they just get to figure it out. Like they get to be themselves because they're not so vulnerable to that sense of being pressed into, being the right kind of person and fitting in, and not because they can't anyways, they just can't.
Right.
It would
It's
be
not
like,
on their radar, right?
It's
just
not even there.
for-
Yeah.
yeah, it's like beyond their ability, as if you were asking them to run a marathon when they have no legs. Like it's just something they can't do. So they know they're themselves and they're going to stick with it because that's all they've got.
Yeah.
Whereas
The
everybody
old,
else spends all their time trying to feel safe and fit in with stuff that, because we can be a little bit more malleable about ourselves when we kind of might be able to fit in.
yeah, the old parenting tricks that I've used on the other kids. It's like he just didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it was just like talking to sometimes not to a wall because he was listening, and but what I could see on the other side, retrospectively, was I don't know why you're so upset. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like
Like
type
you're
of
getting really
attitude, right?
excited about this, Dad. You want to chill out a bit?
Yeah, it's like, and then I realized, he doesn't really get what's happening here. You know what I mean? Like there's something missing there, and I'm wasting my time getting excited about this behavior that is not the end of the world, right? It's just not compliant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and then you realize that you're making a storm about how you feel like you're being judged or you're not fitting in. And it
Yeah.
really has nothing to do with your kids.
No.
When you have one of those ones that puts on their clothes based on how they feel. So they've got their rubber boots and their
So Jimmy,
unicorn tights and their little pink dress with their construction vest, when they're doing that kind of thing, and you recognize that you can feel I'm going to be judged here. And then you think, I didn't dress him.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I think there might be a healthy limit there. I was watching some show on Netflix, and the parents had let their little boy wear a pink tutu, all day long. And I may draw the line at some point just to prevent enough embarrassment. But at some age, if he wants to wear a pink tutu, knock yourself out. You know what I mean?
Well, and there's I think it's a YouTube video of a boy that wants to wear a tutu, so his dad wears a tutu because he doesn't want to be picked on.
Don't
Like-
make me do that.
Oh yeah, well, and of course that's when you start doing that accidentally being mature thing and picking it apart. Why would that be a problem?
Yeah.
It's just a costume. It doesn't
Yep.
have anything to do with who you are.
Yeah. Oh, if I was doing it to support him, yeah.
Yeah, like, well, and even if you were just doing it because it was funny or silly or
Yeah.
whatever,
Halloween.
it's just,
Yeah.
you're still just you in a different kind of clothing. Like we get so wrapped up in the idea that, oh, that's not me. I don't do that kind of thing. I don't look like that. I don't want people to see me that way. And you think, well, okay, but why not?
Which
If you
is
were
funny.
on a stage, would it be different? And
Yeah.
are you on a stage all the time?
Which is why we have so much fun when we go to parties and we have a couple of drinks and we're playing games or something like that, because you get to be goofy and be somebody that you're not typically, or you're not adhering yourself to a persona type of thing, right?
Yeah, you can take that mask off and be a little bit more yourself.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that it takes a little bit of alcohol to grease that bravery.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I don't want to have to drink to be a good parent.
It helps. It's not necessary, but it helps.
Right? My wife and I
Little
laugh every
THC
once in a
can
while.
really mellow you out.
It's here comes the weekend. Okay, do we have everything we need? Okay, did you stop at the get the booze? That's too funny. Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't always have to be booze. It has to be just some form of other motivation, which can be limiting, right? Like I'm reminded of the time I ran a half marathon. It was the Disney half marathon. This was back when I was running a lot, but I don't do that too much anymore. But it was a Disney princess half marathon. So I wore a dress, a full gown, and an Ariel wig.
Oh,
That must have been comfortable in
but do you
was
have
not-
video?
I have a couple of pictures which are in lock and safe, but no, it was really uncomfortable. And the funniest part was it was getting out of my skin, right? Like I was doing it because I was with my partner at the time and the small group we were doing, and it was a theme. Okay. But it was fun. The idea was fun. 13 miles in that, not as fun as I had thought through. But
Yeah.
the best part was, the people and the different support that line up and cheer. The best one was the firemen giving me the cat calls going, looks like Princess needs a shave. And I'm like, all right, fair enough. It really brought me to that point. I still had my kid. This was while I had children, but there's some element of just giving up and realizing I've worn tutus, I've had my nails painted, I've had makeup put on, mostly by my daughters.
Yeah, mostly.
Fair
Mostly.
enough.
But it's just that point of, if we don't have that stretchability, how can we expect our kids to? And then how can we understand when they do that if they're going to do it before we do?
Yeah. If we don't have that sense of we stay ourselves no matter what we're wearing, that piece, then we don't have any sense that our kids are themselves no matter what they're doing.
Yeah.
We I guess they imitate us, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We without even knowing, right? Like these hangups that we bring from our own lives, they absorb and just carry forward if we're not careful.
Well, and they reflect them back to us so that we get to see ourselves from a different perspective. And I think, that's always about wisdom and maturity anyways. I think we develop the ability to do that. Parenting, I think, pushes us into it in a way that is a lot less avoidable than if we were alone with our cat all the time. But we have the opportunity to see ourselves from a different perspective and wonder, is that the kind of person I actually want to be seen to be? And, oh, I am being watched.
Yep. By two little monkeys, apparently.
Yeah. And that other
Yeah.
person who's constantly watching you, that critic that's constantly pounding on you in there,
Voice on the shoulder. Yeah.
you're watching too. And sometimes you need to pull it up to impress yourself rather than worry about what anybody else on the planet might think.
Roger that.
I was going through that just before this call with some domain names and email addresses. I have so many, and I literally thought, who is in my head telling me I need to keep all these, right? Like, why forwarding exists? I can just put them all in one. That was the thought I was having, is if I cancel this one, then what will this group of people think? And what will that? I'm like, what? Like, just trying to figure out who that voice is telling me to keep all this crap that doesn't make sense. It exists. It is a real thing. It's a very good point.
Do you find yourself experimenting? I experimented recently with WhatsApp, a bunch of WhatsApp groups, and I hadn't communicated in this WhatsApp group for about, I don't know, like a year, right? And I'm like, you know what? This is bothering me that it's sitting there, that it's empty. I don't like false communication. Like we're good buddies because we're on a WhatsApp group type of thing, right? So I deleted myself from the WhatsApp group.
Nice.
It was an experiment just to see. It kind of hurt. It was tough to do, but within the next 2 weeks, 4 or 5 people from that WhatsApp group reached out
Really?
and
Nice.
said, "Hey, what's going on? You okay? I saw that you left the group. Are we no longer friends?" I'm like, stop it. We're still friends. I just found the group kind of like too much. Like, it's a type thing. But it was really an interesting experiment because the default was, "Ooh, I don't want to touch it because somebody might think I'm mad at them." Something.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they thought. That
true,
shows
what they
their
thought.
insecurity, right? Of,
Yeah, right.
did I say something? Was it because of that one post I said, or like?
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, because we always do that, right? We're accidentally conditioning ourselves to believe that everything we do is super important to everybody else on the planet. And so,
Right.
we say, oh, they did that because we did this. It's like, well, no, they might have just done that. It might not have anything to do with you, actually.
Right.
Possible. Anyways.
I must admit, Linda, I thought of you during that post on the parenting group, but when the other mom said something about, oh, my kid thinks I do all the work around the house type thing, and I was like, oh my God, Linda, we chatted about that already about the temptation just to sit there, and if it's somebody else is going to do it, I'll let somebody else do it type thing, right? But and kids who are just literally going to call it how they see it, right? Like if
Absolutely.
mommy's buzzing around the house doing all the work and daddy's got his feet up having a beer all the time, they see that. It's pretty.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're working 100 hours at your job, they see that.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because as far as they're concerned, you're just going on vacation or having some fun or whatever.
Right.
They don't know anything. They only see the work that's in front of them. Which is
Right.
why a lot of kids grow up thinking, they could be a nurse or a waitress because or a teacher. That's all they got. That's all they ever see.
That's all they ever see. Yeah, right. So bring your kid to
Oh.
school day or week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Take your kids to work for a little while and let them see what else there is in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think a word that is ringing true in my head right now, Tank, is flexibility. It's something about being flexible there. I think it's tough being flexible.
Yeah.
Type thing, you know.
Yeah.
You have to teach yourself to be flexible, and there's all sorts of tests you can take. Is Tank still there? I've either
Yeah,
mesmerized
I
Tank.
think he's frozen. Yeah, he's frozen for sure.
He's frozen. Yeah. There's a lot of those psychological tests you can take that'll grade your flexibility type of thing, right? And I probably would have ranked myself as being very inflexible
Right.
at the beginning, right? And now with more kids and more things happening and understanding that everything isn't not everything is a perfect procedure from a manual, even though I'm
Yeah.
a pilot, and things come from a manual, and I try to adhere to that manual as much as possible.
You've got the checklist.
Yeah, checklist, right? It's and the temptation is to just keep following that checklist. Very military concept, but even if that were the case, we would have computers flying planes, right?
That's true. Yeah.
You still want a human being making decisions. You want somebody who is going to bring the heart into the decision making and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, life is not a checklist.
No.
It's that simple.
No. Well, and
I tell my students that though.
Flexibility is important in terms of responsiveness, particularly to what's actually happening. I've known a number of people who got really locked into the idea that they had to do this because, which is a really kind of broken way of looking at things. Is he back?
I'm
Hey.
back.
Oh, there you
Welcome
go. Did Zoom freak out at your house?
You mentioned taking a test or something, and I was out. I just couldn't. Yeah, no, I don't know what happened.
Right.
You can have the rest of that conversation again, Mark. That's okay.
We were just talking about geez, what did I say? Flexibility and so those psychological profile tests you sometimes see where part of it gives you a grade on your flexibility type thing. And I would have it's when you ask your colleagues to rate you, not rate you, but to tell you who you are, the feedback type of thing.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, Mark's inflexible. It's like, really? I'm inflexible? Why is that? And then throughout the years, you're like, holy shit, I'm inflexible. It's like things have to be done this. You butter your toast this way. You don't butter it that way. Like, you know what I mean? Like very much inflexible. But as time has gone on, it's like, man, is so hard to keep yourself on that one track while the rest of the world seemingly is in chaos. It's not the case. You need to be flexible. Okay, you need to be able to react to different situations and appropriately. And that's where I think that's where we were. Yeah.
That's where we got to at the end. Yeah.
Nice.
And it's just about responsiveness rather than I already know what I'm going to have to do. I already know how to deal with this. I already know the answers to everything, and the universe is to conform to I'm in this lane and it's staying that way.
Yeah.
And there's nothing like a little trucking disaster or shipping issue or roads falling apart to make it very clear that whatever you thought might be happening next week is probably no longer on the menu as an option, much less you can make the universe go along with this plan.
Right.
And in disaster responses, quite often, that's the biggest challenge, is helping people see past that, but it has to be this way thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's got a lock on your psyche. If you don't have a key or haven't opened that and start playing with it, that is probably the biggest block to any kind of forward movement. Like people just get
Growth.
stuck there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether they
Or
know it or
feeling
not.
successful at all, like, because there's nothing more frustrating in the universe than the whole world not working the way you think it's supposed to. Like you can't feel successful in that situation. You just feel endlessly frustrated and endlessly annoyed that the universe is not conforming as it should.
I don't want to change the subject suddenly, but I before I forget, I wanted to bring a topic up for 8 minutes, and maybe we can tackle it next time too, type thing.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence.
Uh-huh.
Now I know we could spend 14 years talking about this, but
Yes, we could.
the interesting part about it that I think I smacked me in the face this week was the definition of emotional intelligence, but is some people's definition of it. And I think a lot of people think emotional intelligence is the ability to perceive other people's emotions, the ability to react appropriately to other people type thing. But there was this one part that was like, oh boy, self-control,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
is a major factor in emotional intelligence, because it's the how you're being viewed by the other people.
Yeah.
Right, type thing, right? So it was like that just kind of blew me away in terms of like parenting, relating it back to parenting. It's like, if you can demand of them certain expectations, but if you're not adhering to the same emotional agreement, the emotional relationship, then it's just not, it's not going to be an equal relationship. I don't know how to word that better. It just doesn't work if you're not in self-control also,
Yeah. Well, I often notice that a lot of people want their kids to be more mature than they are. Like,
Yeah, there you
you
go.
have to control yourself because I can't control myself when you don't.
Yeah. Oh my God. There you go. See, you always translate for me. There you go. That's well put. Well put. Yes. Yes. I want you to behave perfectly, because if you don't, I'll lose my mind, and then I'm off the
No
tracks.
telling what's going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. From my perspective, it starts the beginning of emotional intelligence is understanding what we are feeling, and then being able to regulate our response to that, being
The
able
physical.
to talk ourselves down off the wall, to be able
Right.
to restrain ourselves from, throwing things and screaming at people or hitting them or whatever.
Yeah.
To be able to express our emotions is the next part. Like, to be able to say to somebody, hey, I'm super frustrated because you're doing this, and I get it. It's not about you, it's about me. And then being able to do the same thing for other people.
Interesting.
It's kind of the last step.
I wonder if just verbalizing that it helps, right? Like it's me. It's like you're really frustrating me right now because I have a thing with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just kind of verbalize that,
Yeah. It turns out I have a button panel and you poked one, and now I have to go find out why that one's got power to it.
Yeah. I just need 10 minutes to go and disconnect that button.
Yeah. You go figure out what that reminds me of and why that's such a big deal. The Conscious Parent by Stefali Tsarbury is actually really all about that. It's about becoming much more aware of our own reaction and where it comes from, so that we don't sort of repeat the pattern of what our parents did that gave us that reaction and showed us that reaction when we were little kids. So we can sort of take it back and say, okay, I'm losing my mind because when I was 3 and my parents were shouting at me, I was powerless to do anything about that, but now I'm not, so I'm going to shout.
Yep.
And then you see, oh, that's what my parents were doing too.
Yeah, it's and emotional intelligence, like whatever level you're at in emotional intelligence, you're going to have a moment where you dip down, where you go, where you're lost in yourself, you're lost in other things, and suddenly emotions and other people don't come into it. So, meaning, maybe you're busy at work or something like that, right? And then the kids are acting up, or they're just being themselves probably, and then that kind of hits you in the face, and you're not able to be intelligent about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not aware of your stress level to start with. You're not aware that you're tapped out and need to restore yourself. You're not aware that you're getting on edge, that's creeping up the back of your head, like this monster is coming up to get you. If you don't have any sense of that to start with, whenever anybody else does anything that gets in the way of your I must get this done right now thing, whatever that is, then that monster comes out, right? Because it's their fault that you're not finished this. It's their fault you've been stressed out all day. It's, suddenly you've got a target to yell it at. Whereas with emotional intelligence, I would think and suggest that sometime earlier in the day, you'd go, hey, I'm getting pretty stressed out. Maybe I should go for a walk or have some water, or get a snack, or maybe sit down and meditate for 20 seconds and cool my body off a little bit, so that you don't get home with that, gotta get everything done kind of energy, that as soon as anything doesn't go the way you thought it was going to go, you don't lose your mind.
We need a meter, something on our body that shows where we're at. Maybe we change colors or something. I don't know, just to tell where we're at.
Yeah, other people can see it. You know, it's your shoulders doing this over
Yeah,
the
yeah,
day. You're like,
Yeah.
don't need to wear your shoulders as earrings, honey. You can put them down.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm fine. Why do you ask? Yeah. I'm pretty sure they see it. Yeah.
You can
I
also,
don't know.
it's the physical. You can also use the audio, like you said, like, oh, what's that tone in your voice? Like,
Yeah.
if you've got that good relationship that you can with your partner, you can go, I am hearing something. Do you want to share, or should I just go take a break? Should I just excuse myself? Do you need a minute?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Oh, that. Oh, that. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't feel that until you mentioned that. Thank you. I know I'm gonna
If you
pound
could
on
only
something.
see yourself and hear yourself, right? And get
Well,
outside
and
of
the
your
thing
own
is,
head.
that's it.
Yeah.
You need to be able to see yourself and to feel your body, like to actually get back in touch with how you react to things physically and what stress feels like in your body. Because for a lot of people in the Western world, we have been so acclimated to stress that that's just normal. We
Yeah.
don't think about how exhaustion makes us react badly, or how being depleted in hunger, not enough sleep, all that kind of stuff. We don't get that because we're so used to, well, we have to sit still for the next 6 hours because we're in class. We have to sit still because we're at work. We have to, like, we just stop noticing our bodies. And then we go home and drink a lot or eat an entire box of cookies or something because we are not paying attention to how our body feels.
Here's a tip that my partner, she does breath work facilitation and since a lot of other woo stuff, and it's really fascinating to have her be that mirror for me. And the thing, I don't remember where she got it. I won't even be able to recall it. But when she asks me, how you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm doing good. How does good feel in your body?
Yeah.
Where does it feel good in your body? And I'm like, first few times I'm like, what the heck are you talking? And then I'm like, I see what she's doing. It's that but that trigger for somebody else to go, where is good? What is good? What and how that tool that has opened a lot of communication and self-awareness in our household.
Well, and how many times in the first year or two of hearing that did you suddenly realize that it's not good in there?
Oh yeah, good is a BS answer for sure. It's never good. It's never good.
Yeah, you're like, actually, my hand is so tense, I think I'm going to pound it through a concrete wall. Actually, I don't think I'm good. Actually,
how does good feel? It feels like I need to get the hell off my. Yeah, exactly. Precisely, and it's that mirror reflection back of, you said something. Are you going to own it, and are you going to actually ignore it? Like, what do you do with that? And that was just one simple tool that. And I don't know how that works with kids. We're starting to use it with my kids. They're a little bit older. I don't know what age that would be effective or frustrating with little ones, but
it was actually one of the things that I did with my kids when they were in playgrounds and climbing things, or if they were carrying something like a glass of water that didn't have a top on it. It was one of the things that I actually did a lot of was reconnect them with their body, because they'd be, talking about something or,
yep.
something else. And I'd say, can you see the top of the glass? And they're like, what? Oh, like I didn't have to say, hey, don't spill the glass. I would say, if they were climbing something, I'd say, where are you going to put your foot next? And then they'd start looking around. And I'd say, are you feeling safe there? And they'd be like, no, can I get down now? Or yeah. And, then they'd go a little higher and then they'd think, yeah, I keep going. Like just reconnect them all the time with
complete that circuit. Yeah.
Yeah. To have that as a thing that they addressed ever in their body and their mind.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So it's not good just to ignore all that then.
Depends on what good means.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah, no, I'm good. That's good.
Well, my point is it's the conscious parenting versus the unconscious, not subconscious, but unconscious parenting, right? Like literally just not paying attention to anything, right? So we all have our days, don't get me wrong, or our moments where it's like, what, I have kids? Oh, right.
Well, because you genuinely get distracted by other things.
Sure, yeah.
I mean,
Right.
you're focused on something and then you're like, oh, right. Is the house on fire?
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, it's 7 o'clock. I should probably cook dinner.
Yeah. They're getting kind of hangry. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's weird. There's a temper tantrum that happens around about 11 o'clock. Every day we don't eat breakfast.
Yeah.
I wonder what I can learn from this.
Every day at 6 o'clock, if we haven't eaten yet, it's a zoo. It's an absolute zoo. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody comes unglued. It's time to hand out the cheese wholesale.
Oh
Like,
my God.
put protein and fat in your
Is-
mouth.
Is this like the universal answer? Cheese?
It can be, yeah, avocados, olives, anything. high fat,
Avocados
high-
is big in
high-
our house.
Yeah,
But
high
cheese and
protein.
avocados, it's
Yeah.
a go-to. It's like, okay, here's a snack. I'll make dinner. I'm sorry.
My fault. And don't offer them a carrot because they'll just eat you.
Yeah, right.
It's like, no, it doesn't have enough fiber in it. It doesn't have
Right.
enough fat in it. Get away from me. I'm
Right.
actually hungry. I don't need filler.
Do I look like a rabbit? Yeah.
Exactly. Or the great red dwarf line. What is this? This is a vegetable. It's for people who exercise.
Right. People who exercise.
Some great lines come out of that silly show.
Too
Anyhow,
funny.
yeah, interesting conversation. We could definitely, talk some more about emotional intelligence.
Oh,
next time.
Yeah. It's a
You
good
know,
idea.
As it relates to parenting, yeah, I think that you could flesh that one out and go in many directions. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful chatting.
Definitely.
Love it. Love it.
Have a great day, guys.
Yeah,
Good
you
stuff.
too. Have a good
Thank
one.
you guys. Take care of
See you.
yourselves. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.